And hello, welcome back to League of Extraordinary Atheists, where we attempt to apply logic and reason to religion and politics. I'm here with my host, and I can hear myself. Is that you or me this time, or both?
Probably a little bit of both.
Okay, fair enough. But yes, and hi, chat. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm here with my co-host, my wonderful, beautiful co-host, Christy Santiago. Will you say hello?
Hola. Hola, ¿qué pasa?
So we have a little dual topic tonight, but before we get into that, I've got some bullshit to share. Trying to pull them up real quick because there's a lot. If you pay attention to President Donald Trump at all, you know what a handful he is. I'm trying to find the exact tweet because I lost it already. But he went out to see Kim Jong-un last week, and because of Cohen's testimony, he left early.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see real quick. Okay, so here's one. Bad lawyer and fraudster Michael Cohen said under sworn testimony that he never asked for a pardon. His lawyers totally contradicted him. He lied. Additionally, he directly asked me for a pardon. I said, no. He lied again. He also badly wanted to work at the White House. He lied. He has to get his 2 cents in. What's the real good one, though? I was so excited to share it with you guys. Oh, here's a good one, 16 hours ago. The wall is being built and is under construction. Big impact will be made. Many additional contracts are close to being signed. Far ahead of schedule, despite all of the... Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Despite all of the Democrat obstruction and fake news. There's that, because because the wall was already partially built. So, of course, it's under construction, because it has always been under construction. Like, since he got in office. This is why it's bullshit. And I can't find what I'm looking for. But the big little shit show was, he was sorry about that. I tap things. So he went out to meet Kim Jong-un to figure out like what they're gonna do like with each other. And since Michael Cohen had his testimony in a Congress, he was so upset by it that he like walked out and he left because he was so worried about Cohen that he left an international meet.
Yes.
Which is fucking crazy.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I know.
The other one, and I'll read this less Trump-like until I'm less sick. Representative Ilhan Omar is again under fire for her terrible comments concerning Israel. Jewish groups have just sent a petition to Speaker Pelosi asking her to remove Omar from the Foreign Relations Committee. A dark day for Israel.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know, if you haven't seen the show before, maybe you haven't heard that we have an undying backing for Israel, despite all of the humanitarian. What's the word I'm looking for, Christy? All the
Human abuse?
human abuse, yeah. All
Humans'
the
rights abuse?
nonsense murders, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
Just quickly
Yeah,
there,
there's
you might want to
yes.
define who you mean as we.
We.
As in, because that could
Yes.
be misconstrued to mean us at LEAH, whereas you're talking
Yeah.
about the United States government's position. Is this correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Right.
The U.S. Thanks. Thank you, Nacha.
Mhm.
Yes. The U.S. Has it looks like a pretty unhealthy relationship with the state of Israel, and this is not
Mhm.
this is nothing against Jewish people at all. Like
No,
I don't
not at
have
all.
an issue with Jewish people. Like even as an anti-theist, I don't have an issue with Jewish people, right?
Nope.
Like I don't have an issue with 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 Muslim people. I have an issue with Islam.
Exactly.
That's a whole different thing.
Yep.
Right? But when Israeli people are killing Palestinians, or the other way around, I have an issue there. I wonder why. Because I'm a humanist. Like,
Mhm.
excuse
Poor
me.
baby.
I'm sorry. I'll be okay. Make it till you make it. But yeah, so I gotta stop hitting the table. But yeah, so I just saw a couple tweets that I wanted to share real quickly. But we can go ahead and move on from here. And I'll pull up.
No, I think that in a American government that's asking the Congress and the Senate people that work in these two American government agencies to swear almost like allegiance to Israel. No, it's a foreign country. I don't care if it's an ally. You know, if we were going to do that, why wouldn't it be a country that's doing wonderful things? We just never should have to swear any type of an allegiance to a foreign country. And just as we agree that criticizing Islam is not Islamophobia, it has nothing to do with that, because we're criticizing Islam or criticizing Christianity or criticizing Pentecostal or any religion is not saying that you're criticizing the people that follow that. And Israel is a country. It is not a religion. And many people that live there aren't even Jewish. But they've made this narrative so solid to so many people that to criticize Israel is anti-Semitic, which to me shows how much work we have to do.
Yeah, and there's a lot of states right now that have passed legislation to keep you from 7 states.
Seven states
that will like keep you from speaking out against Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you have a company.
Israel.
Yes, I'm sorry. What did I say? Islam.
Oh, they're fine with Islam. Yeah.
Oh yeah. They're definitely fine.
You
with
can't.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't like knock them enough. No,
exactly.
but sorry, that's my sarcasm for anyone who doesn't know. But yeah, like you can actually lose funding, or your company can become under attack if you don't like either like swear allegiance to like Islam or boycott BDS.
Right. BDS.
Yeah, it's really so like you have to you literally have to pledge allegiance to another country to be okay.
That's what it is. Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
I won't, and you can't make me.
Excuse me. Let me leave. All right, and hashtag Heathen is going to leave to get some ice cream. BRB.
Yay.
Me back some too.
Me too.
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the main topic for tonight. it's a little dual topic. We have mass extinction and the Green New Deal deep dive. So, you may or may not know that this planet has suffered 5 mass extinctions. Let's see if I can say these right. The Ordovician Silurian extinction, which was about 440 million years ago. The Devonian extinction, which was 365 million years ago. The Permian Triassic extinction, which was 250 million years ago. The Jurassic extinction, which was 10 million or 210 million years ago, and the Cretaceous Tertiary extinction, which was 65.5 million years ago. And that was the asteroid kaboom, there goes the dinosaurs one. But that is the only one. Yeah, asteroid kaboom. That's the only one, especially that we know of. The rest is pretty clear that it was all due to some kind of environmental change. So what you may be less likely to know, though, is that we are considered to be in the 6th mass extinction currently. Now, before I go further, I need to explain what that means, because I want this to reach unscientifically savvy ears.
Yes.
So what defines a mass extinction? An extinction of a large number of species within a relatively short period of geological time, thought to be due to factors such as a catastrophic global event or widespread environmental change that occurs too rapidly for most species to adapt. A mass extinction can last up to tens of millions of years, which is a short amount of time, like in geological time.
Right.
Again, the causing event just has to occur long enough or harsh enough for a large amount of species not to be able to adapt, as we know they usually do. So, what is the current extinction rate? Well, there's a little bit of a discrepancy here, so I'll give you both. The highest estimate is about 100 species lost per day, or 40,000 a year. The lowest estimate is actually 1.4 species lost per day, which would make it about 500 lost per year. The fossil data shows that a normal extinction rate is about 0.01 species lost per day, or 5 per year. Conclusion: current loss of species rate is between 100 and 10,000 times too high.
Yeah.
Now, even the lowest conclusive number, the 1.4 species lost per day, that is way too high here. Excuse me. The average lifespan of a species is about 2 million years from the origin of that species to the death of that species. Mm-hmm. And we are not seeing that so much anymore, which is a problem for not just them, but like us, because like we are a species. 1, 2, that harms habitats. Like, environments don't the habitat itself can't really be healthy if it doesn't have all of the organisms in it that make it a habitat, right? If you lose all of the frogs in a rainforest, then the insects can run rampant and like destroy the ecosystem, right? And that's the kind of thing that we're seeing now. Is I even looked at audio files from like 2007 and 2015 or something like that. There was like 8 years apart, and the amount of noise we're getting just from a 7-year difference is catastrophic. We're getting a lot less wildlife in even like well-preserved rainforests. And it's because we're getting more acid rain in those areas, and more temperature change. Even desert animals, like lizards, they're hiding under the rocks more often. And when they do that, well, they can't go out for food as often, because the desert's getting even hotter. They can't adapt quick enough.
They can't get it if they're hiding.
They can't what?
Get it on.
They can't get it on either. Yeah, they can't reproduce and they can't eat.
Evolution.
That's right. So, from here, what are the causes? I kind of went through that just a little bit, but I'll go ahead and put what I typed up here. Hunting, habitat loss, loss of prey, climate change, and pollution are 5 of the biggest factors that are kind of killing off species and just hurting the planet in general. So I'm going to come down here, and I have a list of fun facts, if you want to call them fun. So I'm just going to give you these facts, and then I'm going to kind of conclude what I have here. But this is just a little fact sheet of, like, this is why, one, it's important to pay attention to this stuff, and 2, excuse me, it's a bunch of data that I didn't know about, and I didn't know how else to type it all up in a paragraph except just kind of give you all these fun facts. All right, 1, 71% of the world's land surface is habitable. So just kind of keep that in mind. Probably should have put that towards the end, but I'll scroll down and give you this one now. The human population grew rapidly from 1 billion in 1800 to over 7.7 billion people today. So again, to put that in different terms, it took us until the year 1800 to get to 1 billion people. 200 years or 220 years later, almost, we have almost multiplied that by 8. That's a lot, and we only have so much land. Yeah, and it's I'm sorry.
Massive.
Yeah, massive.
Just think about if that was happening to pick a species, wolves, deer, we would have to control it. I'm just saying, I don't think we should control human population in those ways. Just something to think about. Carry on.
Right. And we're only one species. And
right.
That 71% of the world's landmass is habitable. It's said that we use 50% of that 71% just for agriculture. We use a lot of that just to feed ourselves. And not just ourselves. I'll get into that later. All right, so I'll kind of breeze through these real quick so we can get through them. Elephant numbers for 2007 to 2014 dropped by almost a whole third due to poaching. That's approximately 70,000 elephants. That's Africa. 70% of coral reef at the Great Barrier Reef was damaged by high temperatures seen in April of 2016. Scientists estimate that by 2050, coral reefs worldwide may completely just disappear,
right.
Which is basically just the rainforest of the ocean, and that's important. The ocean itself may become more plastic than fish by weight by 2050. Since 1999, the NOAA, which I forget what that stands for, has removed 125 metric tons of debris. 125 metric tons of debris from Midway Atoll, which is brought by the North Pacific Gyre, which I'll explain that just a little bit because it didn't come prepared with a picture. But basically, between Asia and the United States, like Japan and California, there is the Pacific Ocean, if you didn't know. And there is the North Pacific Gyre, which is, it's basically like, I don't really want to call it a vacuum, but it's like this shape where all of the garbage that we dump into the ocean, they fly into, it just sinks all into this one area. And it looks like this. All right, there's my pantomiming. And in there is Midway and Hawaii. And Midway gets so much of this trash buildup that just flows in this area.
Yep.
And if you go to this island, Midway, you can virtually take a handful of dirt anywhere on the island, and there will be plastic there. If you cut open any of the birds that are just lining the island that are dead, you will almost definitely find multiple bottle caps in them, because it's polluting their ocean where they get their food, because little red Coca-Cola bottle caps look like squid to them. So they eat that, and they also bring it back to their baby birds. Bee population is dropping dramatically due to pesticides, climate change, and disease. In North America alone, a quarter of our bumblebee species are at risk of extinction. That is a problem, given that bees pollinate 35% of the world's crops.
Yeah.
Due to the decline of wild bees, we have had to go commercial and raise greenhouse bees. But these bees may actually contribute to some of the disease that affect wild bees. So again, we're kind of butt-fucking ourselves. Excuse my French. One company does their part to protect against this by trapping the queen in her box and also incinerating bees after 8 weeks. That's how they have to deal with disease control, so we don't spread disease to wild bees. We have to incinerate others. It's basically bee slave labor, followed by bee holocaust, death by fire. The Sphinx macaw, which was featured in the, I think, 2011 film Rio, no longer survives in the wild, but there are 60 to 80 living in captivity. Livestock emissions are a serious problem. Besides our production of livestock causing 9% of all the carbon dioxide released into the air, methane holds heat 20 times better than carbon dioxide. So, meaning, yes, cow farts are really probably our biggest problem. But why? We mass produce these animals to meet our mass need for meat, milk, cheese. This is why, or this is also where most of our water goes to feed our food. We use so much water. Actually, I don't have all the numbers on me right now because I forgot to type them up. But just for 1 gallon of milk, I think it takes 4.5 gallons of water.
Right.
So that's just for milk. I think just for one steak, it takes like 1,000 gallons of water.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we use a shitload of water, and then also
Back up.
all of their besides their cow farts, the runoff of like their manure, it seeps into other habitats and stuff because there's so much.
Yes.
So
yeah.
you have anything to add on that before I
I do, actually.
go for it?
The factory farming runoff that you just spoke of, many of these factory farms, they go into business in low income areas and poor areas because they would never be allowed to go in a wealthy area because of the smell, because of the dirtiness. And these factory farms have put in sprinkler systems. I don't know if anybody's heard of this. I watch a lot of news. I read a lot of news stories. Well, these sprinklers are into these pools of pee and poo, and they spray it into the air so that it can dissipate, so that the pools don't keep filling up without a way out, because the liners only go so far. Anything over that, it overfills and goes into the land, which it does anyway. Pee and poo is let's see, obviously, there's the word I'm looking for, very corrosive, and it eats right through a lot of the liners they use. But these sprinklers, they spray into the air to help dissipate. Well, these poorer areas, low income areas, have had problems and wrote to their governor, wrote to the president for the last decade, showing pictures and videos of their cars being washed, and then a time span of just 12 hours till the morning when it's time to go get in their car and go to work. And you can take your finger and scrape off a clean line on the car. And it hasn't rained. It hasn't been a dust storm. It's just the fecal and pee matter being sprayed into the air. So that being said, think about things like that when I go into the Green New Deal, because a lot of it has to do with inequality like that. Thinking about why these farms go in certain neighborhoods and not the other, and how we could fix that. You know, a lot of things need to be fixed. But the inequality, when I think of factory farming, I think of a lot of things. Besides animal abuse, I think of human abuse. I think of them going into these neighborhoods where no one had a say if they were there, or if no one voted to have them there, because they would have said no. Kids are getting sick. They're having asthma. I mean, can you think waking up every day and just smelling pee and poo in the air, not just smelling it from over there. It's in the air flying. That means it's on them. It's disgusting. A lot of pee and poo in this one.
Yeah, we do.
That's what
we do. A lot of stupid things to ourselves.
Right. Right.
But and not just that. Not that it just affects humans. Because like it affects a lot of the wildlife too. The ecosystem. Like there's been reports of the government actually coming in. Like all these factory farmers have to do is say, hey, we have wolves or coyotes, and they'll come in and they'll actually like by the helicopter like shoot down red wolves, which I believe are also endangered. So they can protect these farms. And like, I get that they're trying to protect their animals, but I mean, obviously they're trying to protect their profit more. But it's really
you roboted.
I roboted.
You roboted.
What?
I guess.
I was saying that I mean, like I understand that they want to protect their profits. But like you can't. I don't feel like that justifies shooting down other endangered species.
No, it doesn't.
And something that I did not put in this little lineup here is, because I didn't have time to research it, because it's a whole other thing really, is how the president is allowing like hunting of endangered species and like bears and stuff. Like you can just go in and like
murder them.
Yeah, just flat out murder them, like in their like dens or whatever. Like
babies in their dens.
Babies and it's pretty gross. And like
man,
I would like to hear the justification for that. But anyways,
There will never be one. There will
Right.
never be one. Nope.
So I'm going to get pretty close to wrapping up, and then we will move on to the Green New Deal. I got like 3-4 more facts here, and then we'll move on.
Facts.
And then I have, facts. Facts. We like facts.
we need some sort of I don't even know what they're called because I'm so technology illiterate. Something to go across the screen. Fact alert.
Facts.
Yes. Okay. Fact away.
Okay. Sir Martin Rees, the British I can't say words.
Cosmologist.
Thank you, Christy.
Cosmologist. Yes.
Cosmetologist. He's pretty.
Hey, that's me.
Yeah. And astrophysicist says that there's a 50-50 chance that there will be humans around at the end of the century, which is comforting. The chance that we have to keep climate temperature from raising 2 degrees Celsius is 5%, according to that newer UN report. And going over 6 degrees, though, is 10%. So we have twice the chance of going over 6 degrees than we do keeping it under 2 degrees. Another fun one is the Paris Agreement. If you don't know anything about the Paris Agreement, I have just a little bit on it. On June 1st, 2017, the U.S. backed out of the Paris Agreement, and for good reason. Climate change is a lie made up by the Chinese, and the U.S. was being treated unfairly. Too much was expected of us. Just kidding. We set our own goals and are praised or lightly shunned for reaching them or not.
Right.
That's all the repercussions of the Paris Agreement. But we had to back out because we were being treated unfairly. The biosphere. If you don't know what the biosphere is, I will explain it to you in the words of Carl Sagan very quickly.
Yay.
Carl Sagan said that if you take a basketball and wrap it in a layer of saran wrap, which, by the way, is not biodegradable.
Right.
That is the part of the earth that we live off of. That is our air, our water, and our land. Just the layer of saran wrap. So, what can we do to try to stop some of this bullshit we do, right? What can we do? Stop building pipelines is one good one. Stop or at least slow factory farming dramatically. Stop deep deforestation. Oh, I put deep there, but fair enough.
Well, what is it? Deep sea drilling?
I don't think it was.
Maybe you were thinking deep sea drilling and you wrote deforesting. I'm helping.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me. And dramatically decrease the use of fossil fuels. Invest in solar and wind energy, which many states are doing right now. And not just states, like all over the world. Countries are taking advantage of this, especially China. But they set the highest goal to decrease their carbon footprint, which is great, although we're being treated unfairly. And get back into and lead the Paris Accords, like take a leadership role, and realize you can't have growth forever in a finite world. So, warning to Natcha, this is my last paragraph. And then we have a little video to share with you guys. One of the most interesting and complete interviews I listened to while researching this topic was one with Dr. David Suzuki, PhD in zoology. He's a science broadcaster and an environmental activist.
Yeah, hero.
Yeah, his story's amazing. No, it's fine. It's fine.
He's a hero to me too. I just love him.
Yeah, this is the first time that I've really found him and like at least put like a name to him. Like he was recognizable. But,
Right.
So his opinion is a very important one. But here's a clip, if you can, Natcha, that I thought was very important to share from that interview. It expresses the dire need of attention to climate change. So whenever you are ready. I'm not sure if I will see it.
3%, 24 years. So that's exponential growth. Now I'm going to give you a system analogous to the planet. That's a test tube full of food for bacteria. That's the world. And I'm going to put one bacterium in it. That's us. And it's going to go into exponential growth. So when I introduce the bacterium, there's one bacterium. 1 minute later, there are two. 2 minutes later, there are 4. 3 minutes, 8. That's exponential growth, okay? Doubling every minute. 60 minutes, the test tube's completely full of bacteria, and there's no food left. So we've got a 60-minute growth cycle. When is the test tube only half full?
I've seen this whole
59 minutes.
All right.
59 minutes, it's half full.
All right.
58 minutes,
Right, yeah.
it's 25% full.
Yeah.
At 55 minutes of a growth of a 60-minute cycle, it's 3% full. So if one of the bacteria, guys like you, come along and say, hey, things look fine. The guy says, I've been thinking, we got a population problem. You'd say, what the hell are you talking about? 97% of the test tube's empty. We've been around 55 minutes. So let's suppose at 59 minutes, they go, oh my God, he was right. We got 1 minute left. What are we going to do? Well, we need a mega project. Don't give it to those economists. Give money to those scientists. And in less than a minute, they invent 3 test tubes full of food for bacteria. So that would be like finding 3 more planets that we could inhabit immediately. So they're saved, right? Quadruple the amount of food. So 60 minutes, the first test tube's full. 61 minutes, the second's full. 62 minutes, all 4 are full. By quadrupling the amount of food in space, you buy 2 extra minutes. So what is all this crap about? We got to have growth. We got to have growth. Every scientist I've talked to says we're already past the 59th minute. We're way beyond the capacity of this planet to sustain us. And
we're back to you guys.
Yay. Let me move this cat.
So his message is simple. You can't have economic growth forever in a finite world.
Right.
The world we live in will live on without us. And the single most important thing you can do, which I'm surprised after his whole hour interview, is vote. He said it's vote. Educate yourself in politics and what's going on in the environment. Vote.
Yes.
We may have a 5% chance to unfuck ourselves. He views this as hope. And I think him viewing this as hope is a little bit naive. But this man is way smarter than me. And he's going to view it as hope. Well, by golly, maybe I should too. Right? He makes the point that the American people, because he lived through this and saw it, he makes the point that the American people didn't know what the hell they were doing when they decided to catch up to the Russians and go to the moon. But when we set a goal, we dedicate ourselves and we get it done. We don't even have to know where to start.
Right.
So that's my whole spiel. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me tonight. If you have any questions, I'll try to keep a little bit more of an eye on the live chat. So on to you, Miss Christy.
Lost you. Hold, please. There we go. I got a little crazy with the hands and knocked my headphones right on out of my ears. I'm wild and crazy. Oh, man. No, that was fantastic. I watched that entire conversation, and yeah, he is brilliant. And he has a lot of great ideas. I like him anyway, but he's right. we missed the chance we had to completely change everything around many years ago, when the science community was screaming about it, when ExxonMobil hired scientists to tell them if they were doing something wrong. And they said yes, 40 years, was it 30, 40 years ago. And at first, ExxonMobil said, okay, well, let's do something about it. They started these videos for their employees saying, we're going to start doing this to take care of the planet and that. And then they realized, uh-oh, this is going to be expensive. And our bottom line, the like, beautiful bottom line was, yeah. There's that. I'm glad you covered that. I think that there's so much information. If anybody wants to go look at the mass extinction that we are going through right now, we've lost, so many species. They're gone. We'll never see them again. And there are many species right now that there's one male or one female. And in the bird kingdom, there are male birds that are the last one of their species running around doing their cry and their song for mating, and they're never going to get a call back. Ever. They're the only one. It's just so sad. But I'm a tree hugger, so there's that.
I know you are.
I just love them. Trees are so cute and beautiful. I just love them so much. And animals and the planet. Yeah, I'll stop.
Well, you're just like a regular Snow White. Half know that already.
Yeah, Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins. Oh, right. So I had something in my mind when I sat down to write this. And then I started reading, and something else happened. And I thought maybe I would do this instead. Why the Green New Deal is humanistic to its core, and why we all should support it. The Green New Deal is a broad set of policies to reach net zero emissions in a decade and create ambitious social programs in the process. It's not a new term or a new idea, but it has recently been codified into a resolution introduced by Representative AOC and Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts' 7th Congressional District. The Green New Deal idea here in our very own nation is the biggest development in climate change politics in history around the world. We could be a world leader, leading in something that really matters and that could literally save all humans everywhere and set precedent for other nations. We could be leading by example. We could be the leaders of something so important, not just leading by power and might. For the first time in the US, we have proposed framework that would have taken years and years to compile, that understands that climate change and the economy are fundamentally the same story for us humans. There's not a subsector of the economy which has climate change policy or climate change politics, but they are literally the exact same thing in the Green New Deal. And the Green New Deal recognizes this. That's why they put it in it. That is hugely exciting to me. I mean, I was just squealing when I heard all of the stuff that is going to be combined in it. Because once you recognize that, it allows you to do two things. One, by treating climate change and the economy as the same, you can put together a plan that's the scale of the challenge that we face. We are on the verge of a massive runaway climate change. And in order to prevent that, we need to extremely and rapidly transform our nation's energy system and other sectors like agriculture as well. So in order to do that, we, or the leaders of this nation, really need to understand climate change and the economy as a single integrated unit. And number two, the other benefit to understanding that climate change and the economy are the very same thing is that we can achieve a bunch of goals at once. And most specifically, we can address and transform the kind of savage economic and racial inequalities in our country. Through a form of climate investment, i.e. the Guaranteed Jobs Program, similar to the program the FDR implemented and with the very same title. This jobs program prioritizes communities that have suffered disinvestment and pollution, like those factory farming, and combines a really significant increase to social services with an effort to really change the way we make a living in this country and across the country. The Green New Deal does have some flaws, or as I call them, shortcomings. The Green New Deal does not take on the fossil fuel industry. It calls for net zero emissions, but not an end to new coal, new oil, and gas projects. It doesn't call to directly phase out these industries either. The net zero idea is that the net amount of emissions should be zero by 2030 or shortly thereafter. Counter arguments to this are, quote, that therefore leaves open the possibility that we would still be omitting carbon dioxide, methane, you name it. But I say with reforestation and the other policies that we have that will be reabsorbing these elements, we should be fine. To be honest, this criticism and this argument is a bit overblown. Net zero emissions by 2030 is still an incredibly ambitious target. And if we got there, we could be on track to prevent truly catastrophic warming. The bigger problem with the resolution, according to the Climate Justice Community, is that the fossil fuel industry the fossil fuel industry is the number one barrier to climate change politically. This industry has bought off most of the Republican Party. They have bought off many members of the Democratic Party as well. They are a humongous industry that stands to lose everything. And they're going to fight to the death. I'm just saying, if the Green New Deal doesn't take them on, and if we think that we can somehow deal with them while completely wiping them out kind of slowly, I think that that's kind of a naive view of how politics work in this country, and they should too. And the climate justice community does have a good point that should be in there, but it's not, so I will move on. There are arguments from the other side of the aisle as well. Conservatives are claiming that the Green New Deal is far too overreaching, that the radicals on the left are using the Green New Deal as a platform to add in unrelated proposals for free college and jobs guarantee and other ideas that motivate progressives. That came from Jonathan Chait, New York Magazine. But it's so important that the Green New Deal is this broad. The Green New Deal really represents a complete transformation of our country's economy, an utter overhaul of our energy system, making urban life walkable and more livable, more affordable, with many changes to agriculture and much more. I don't even have time to list them all right here. So we have two options. We can either try to make all these changes while leaving the power structure of this country intact, and therefore leaving half or more than half of this country really suffering and left behind. Or we can take advantage of this opportunity to start to address some of the massive inequalities at the same exact time. Why would anyone choose to leave more than half of their fellow countrymen and women and children behind? I can't fathom that. I think that it's really remarkable when so-called centrists attack the Green New Deal, when they seem to want to make a much smaller policy that would appeal to fewer people and therefore be less popular. Nothing has polled in climate policy as well as the Green New Deal has, and that's historically. On the polling, Green New Deal has it. The Green New Deal polled a majority with Republicans and extremely high support with the Democrats. Why? Because actually, who in this country thinks that there should be more heat waves, more pollution, more tax breaks for the billionaires, fewer jobs for people who want to work, stronger hurricanes, bigger droughts, more wildfires. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants any of that. And the Green New Deal says, hey, actually, yeah, we are going to make your future safer and more economically secure as well. We're also going to provide you with a job if you don't have one, or you're in danger of losing one, or underemployed. We're going to make sure that you have health care. We're going to make sure that if somebody's pockets get clipped into, it's the pockets of the billionaires. These ideas are extremely popular across the country, right, left, middle, doesn't matter. So creating much narrower policies that would be supported by fewer people is a failing idea, obviously. Previous climate policies that look more like what the centrists are proposing have already failed time and time again. In Washington State, for instance, in the last election last year, there was a carbon tax proposal with massive climate investments that would have created lots and lots of jobs. It failed. It did not get passed. It failed because the fossil fuel went bananas. They spent a ton of money and influence, and it failed. Now we have an idea that AOC has brought, which is tackle inequality and tackle climate change at the exact same time. And the American people love it. We can really take on an issue of this magnitude and continue to live. Can we really take on an issue of this magnitude and continue to live our lives as we do, driving cars, flying in airplanes, etc.? That's the narrative, right? And the answer of human consumption, American consumption, is very, very vexed. I do admit that. There are certain issues that are clear, though. We need to eat less beef. Doesn't mean you can't have it. It just means maybe have it once or twice a week, maybe once a week, maybe twice a month. Switch it up, just not every day. Fly in planes, not jets. And if you have to take jets, like, the presidents and leaders of countries, then take less trips on jets. That's all we're saying. Nobody's saying take it all away from you. But in the more important ways, the data shows that we need to change the way that we consume. Of course, the very affluent absolutely need to consume less. They definitely consume too much. That is 100% clear. The data is very clear on that. The affluent consume a wildly disproportionate amount of the world's resources. The poor, on the other hand, and the working class in this country especially, and in most ways, do not consume enough. The change that we need is a shift away from a lot of private consumption on things that we don't really need toward a more public consumption of things that we all love and can use to benefit the country and lift us up. What people really need and want, and things that cause too many people to go bankrupt, are things like education, healthcare, and truly affordable housing. Health, education, and housing are the three things that really put our brothers and sisters in debt and are the things that we need to make available for everybody. That's why the Green New Deal proposal is so strong, because it includes these three things among so many others. Historically, what progressives have fought for in actual communities are a bunch of amenities that enrich everyday life for the people in those communities, the everyday average people. Things like libraries, basketball courts, soccer fields, playgrounds, community theaters, concert halls. Basically, facilities for culture, for leisure, for sports, where people can spend time with people, and activities that they love. And historically, the labor movement has always said, we want to reduce the working day, maintain benefits, maintain a decent salary, because what we ultimately want out of life is when that clock out time for the day comes, we want a chance to be with the people we love and do things that we enjoy, enjoy the one life that we have. So I think that there is a debate to be had about consumption. But I think that if you look at what working people and labor unions have fought for this entire century, the 20th century, it's more time to spend with loved ones and in high quality public spaces. And what the Green New Deal provides is basically that. There's actually a really nice alignment between the Green New Deal policies and the kinds of urban policies that working people have fought for for a very, very long time. And the form of consumption that's best suited for long, healthy lives of the people and a healthy planet as well. So why is it so important that these public goods and public services are actually offered by the government and not the private sector? Well, if it was 1985 or 1990, maybe on issues of energy, there could have been a very strong case for a gradual carbon tax or a gradual transition. We could have still decarbonized on time. But friends, now we can't. We've wasted too much time and we can't. That time's over. We can't go back. It's done. And if we can't take a look at if we take a look at the moments of the most dramatic economic change for the good in the United States, you are ultimately going to be looking at the New Deal, FDR's New Deal. And what was discovered in the New Deal was this. The most pragmatic, non-ideological thing that exists is an intensely motivated public sector with a huge amount of popular pressure mobilized from the bottom up, i.e. labor movements, people who were retiring or on the verge of retiring in the 1930s and had no pension to rely on. Huge numbers of people pushing on the government to solve their problems. And what was found in the FDR government was a team of advisors. And what happened over time was that the most progressive advisors, with the most invested in public institutions, not private, became the most successful simply because they were the ones who were able to solve the most problems. Public institutions that were created via the New Deal policies to eliminate unemployment and to bring cheap, affordable public power. And at that time, it was renewable power. It was hydroelectric dams for communities. Those people who were able to solve communities' problems, people's problems with jobs guarantee, electricity that was renewable, and so on, eventually won prestige within the New Deal and were able to do more and more and more because the success of their ideas were seen and felt by the people. So they were supported and encouraged to do more. So we do not really have any record of any private sector solving these kind of big, gigantic problems. But we do have a record of the public sector solving huge, gigantic problems fairly quickly as well. Through FDR's New Deal, though FDR's New Deal did make mistakes, but they are mistakes that we can learn from as to not make them while implementing the Green New Deal. Any sober look at history from a non-ideological perspective gives us a very clear picture. It's very clear that large public agencies responding to public pressure with an experimental mindset so that when data comes in and shows that something isn't working, they can try something new. Well, we can clearly see that this is what we have to do. Those are the type of mindsets that we need and will work with this Green New Deal. And history shows that this way does work. So we have that on our side. However, this time our Green New Deal will be more inclusive and more accessible than the New Deal had been. For all of the good that the New Deal did, it left many Americans out. People who were already marginalized, people of color and other minority groups, as well as the very poorly stricken people with no means whatsoever. Sorry, my cat likes to be in the middle. People who are hit first and hardest by the climate and economic changes will really benefit from the Green New Deal policies. The New Deal, in many ways, preserved patriarchal society relations. And I would argue that the worst thing that the New Deal did in terms of inequality is that the coalition made a deal between FDR, the liberals around FDR, and the southern states. Many were white supremacist states. And essentially, the New Deal hardened Jim Crow in those areas. One of the best examples of this is the housing inequality. The New Deal made it very easy for white families, middle and working class, to acquire mortgages, and very, very difficult, if at all possible, for minority families and any class to do so. And a deep segregation was seen because of this. And we're still fighting to get out of it because of this. It was a housing apartheid. And you can Google housing apartheid and read the whole story, because that's the title of it. And we cannot do that again. We just can't. I don't stand for it. And that would be a huge part of people not wanting to vote for the Green New Deal. So it's very important to note this housing apartheid that came out of FDR's New Deal was a public-private partnership. It was all about government incentives, regulations of partnerships with the real estate industry, the mortgage industry, the banking industry, and so on and so on. And since then, actually, many of the attempts to increase public ownerships have also been public-private partnerships, which studies done by Princeton University also reproduce supremacy and apartheid scenarios when you have private involved. Not every single time, but the ones that did have it involved had the the private. Let's see. Yes. Which states done by Princeton, the apartheid scenarios, time and time again. So a truly important lesson from the New Deal when it came to inequality is we cannot make partnerships with white supremacist states or leaderships or organizations. And we cannot make partnerships with a private market that is going to play to people's prejudices and is willing to almost always take the quick buck or solely worry about their bottom line. We need to have our institutions that provide public goods truly responsive to ordinary people. Then we can start to achieve change. The Green New Deal has two really strong elements that could prevent this inequality from occurring. One, the jobs guarantee. This policy is not set up to be easy to scam. It's set up to save this country and the citizens of it. Who has trouble getting a job, somebody might say, in today's economy? Felons, minorities, women who just had a baby, people that had kids and stayed home with them and don't really have a resume. The populations that have the most trouble getting a job would have the most to gain from a jobs guarantee. There's nothing more fundamental to racial and class inequality than a job guarantee. The second piece, which is the Green New Deal proposal, but is not elaborated enough in the idea of housing, a housing guarantee. It is in the Green New Deal. There's just not a lot that I could find about it that I could really dig into, but I'm very happy about that. If anybody knows anything about Martin Luther King's speeches, that was something that he just, a UBI, basic income, and a guaranteed housing and guaranteed job. Those three things, he said, would bring equality to the whole nation. And here we are, 2019, and none of it's been done since then. Excuse me.
Yeah, Martin Luther King was some kind of
can't stop.
Dirty social
He was
democrat
a
as well.
dirty social democrat. I know
He
it.
He was. And they don't talk about that. Like on Martin Luther King Day, they only talk about
ever.
Yeah, but if you go back and listen to his speeches, you're like, holy shit, he's like Bernie Sanders. And what's funny is Bernie Sanders was literally there. He's one of two people in the Senate yet who have actually seen his "I Have a Dream" speech.
Who marched with him? Yeah, who marched
with him? Yes.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, Martin Luther King dissed unfettered capitalism all the time. He thought, it's about the haves and the have-not. It's built into the system. So, and there's also another one you guys should look up to watch, and it says the problem with poverty is literally they don't have enough cash. Like that. That's the problem. It's simple. It's so simple. And so in a purely capitalist system, if you're poverty stricken, that is the problem. You can't tell a mom who doesn't have enough food or money to get food that her problems are other things than she just doesn't have cash, because if she had it, she would go buy food. So that's why social equality is so important. These two pillars, a job guarantee and a housing guarantee, really address the core root causes of inequality, and so many other forms of injustice will fit into those two. They will be eliminated by those two. And I think that the Green New Deal can help facilitate criminal justice reform and the complete elimination of mass incarceration in general. The Green New Deal is so very humanistic, there is not one moral reason not to support it. And if there is a jobs guarantee, so people have somewhere to go, and there's healthcare already, so they have a job, they have healthcare, that's not going to make them bankrupt. The healthcare is taken care of, and they have a job. And then there's housing guarantee. Why the number of people committing criminal offenses is going to plummet, because most criminal offenses are done in very poor areas. They just are. The white collar crimes and all the other crimes are just so different. They just are. The highest years put behind bars is in the poorer areas, or with a small drug charge, a non-violent charge. And so I think that if people are guaranteed, I didn't go to college because I was told at a young age, I hope you know that if you want to go to college, you better get a job now and start saving for it, because I don't know what to tell you. But if I had known that I just know I could just choose where I want to go because that's where I want to study, it would have been so different. And I'm sure it's that way for a lot of people. And there were times where I thought that I was about to be homeless, where I'm a second away from being homeless with a 5-month-old baby as a 19-year-old. Guaranteed job and a guaranteed housing would change so much of my life and choices that I made. So I'm speaking from personal experiences, and because as a humanist, reading the Green New Deal I had to change what I was going to write. I just thought, if there was a bill that could be called humanist, it would be the Green New Deal. I thought, wow, I have to, and maybe I'm not the only one who saw it, but I needed to share it. All of you. Needed you to hear.
You robot it this time. You robot it.
Dang it. How about now?
Yes, you're good.
Am
now.
I done? Okay. That was it. I just needed to share how humanistic this proposal is. It's not a bill, it's a proposal. It's a list of things that need to be done together. And think about that too. The poll that was done in the history of climate policy, nothing has ever polled as high as this deal. I'm stoked. And so if we could get the message out there, the narrative that how could you be humanist? How could you morally not want this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if Medicare for All pulls higher. I think it does, but I think Medicare for All is included.
Yes, it is.
In this too. So yeah.
And
it really does have. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No. Ladies first.
Oh, it is Women's Day and all.
It is.
No, I really love how they're going to tackle the injustices of location, of factory farming, of a huge corporation saying, well, all of that land got foreclosed on because those poor farmers couldn't handle it. And it's a poorer neighborhood. And I'm going to pay a shit ton to be there, which is way less than they should have paid. But the people that lead that state are looking at it like, oh, that's income for us. So they don't really care. They don't have to pay taxes because they're creating food for the country. And the people that live in that area don't really have a say because they're not paying the state what the farm is paying the state as far as, the amount of property that they bought and how important they are and how many Congress people they support. And it's just, that is systematic. That is I'm not saying the system wrote that in, but it is part of the system. And if we can change it, we should. If we can, we should. And I think that we can. And gosh, AOC is fucking brilliant. She is just a little jitterbug to me. She's, almost 30. She's not even 30. I just would smooch her whole little face. She's such a big dreamer, And if 70% of this Green New Deal gets tried, just gets tried in every state, we will see massive changes. Not implemented everywhere, just tried. Like, try it on. Give it a 12-month trial. And like FTR's deal, those people that were in it, that were implementing those changes, the ones who did the most were reelected or elected to higher seats because people wanted more. So it's just, that's why there is so much propaganda against it. That's why you will only hear how we can't do it. We can't afford it. One thing I do know, I don't know the exact numbers, but I do know the total after 10 years of the Green New Deal is blah, 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 whatever that number is. And they keep saying, we can't afford that. Yeah. You what?
Yeah.
I didn't hear you.
I can elaborate on that if you don't mind.
Right. Well, I just know that if you take just healthcare out of that one, out of 10 years, they say the same thing about healthcare. It's going to be this number and we can't afford it. But if you take the healthcare off of it and just take those 10 years and keep the system as it is now, and then total that number, it's almost 3 times that amount. But the individual people pay it, which is too expensive. So if we make it a government program like Medicare, but for all, it ends up being way cheaper. And yes, the people still pay for their insurance. They just pay for it when they pay their taxes, like every other country. So with the Green New Deal, it's the same thing. You might say after 10 years, it's so expensive. But to not do these things,
it's more expensive.
Yeah. I mean, astronomically. And that's even if we only did half of them. So, yeah. Don't let them scare you.
Yeah, because they say that Medicare for all is it's going to cost like $36 trillion over 10 years.
Right.
That or like 34 trillion. And that's good and fine because that's actually a pretty accurate number. And that says it totals $260,000 per household in the United States. But if we stay with what we have now, it'll cost $38 trillion over 10 years.
Right.
Weird how they don't really mention that.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah. So we're actually saving $2 trillion by switching to Medicare for all.
Trillion with a T.
So if you're really worried about the deficit,
no,
which at this point you shouldn't be, because I mean, like, what, we're like $23 trillion in debt right now, and you're worried about more debt.
Right.
Like
no,
that.
They're not.
Like that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Like at this point, money kind of doesn't matter.
No, not like that. And it's the PragerU people and the people that hold to the taxes are theft, which is the dumbest shit I ever heard. They don't take their own highway with them when they go traveling. Like, come on. Their kids also go to public schools. They also use Social Security when they get older. And they also use Medicare when they get older, unless they're independently wealthy, in that good for you. And why would you worry about paying a little bit extra so someone else in your country that you love, patriot, why wouldn't you want to help them out? If you're independently wealthy, how would that hurt you? How would paying out a little bit hurt you? It's not going to. It's the taxes are theft, people. And it's the, I don't want my taxes to pay for people I don't approve of. Trans people, people of different color than them. The bigots, the racists, the people that say they're not bigoted or racist. They just don't want their tax money to pay for things they don't approve of. They would rather just give to charities, which a charity is great. And I'm glad that we had them in the 19th century because more people would have just never made it. There just wasn't enough to go around. It was unfettered capitalism. We didn't have safety nets, but we do now. And because we have the data of what the New Deal did, we can analyze it and see what worked, what didn't work, not make those same mistakes, and not be afraid to make new mistakes, because that's how we learn. And we need to have a mindset that's, experimental, that, that didn't work. And we have the data. Here are the numbers. It did not work. Let's try something else instead of just throwing it away. Because people matter. It matters to do things right. I want to be the best country because we treat people the best, because we have the most freedoms, because we have the best education and the best health care. Those are the things I want, and they're worth fighting for. And it's super humanistic to think that. It is.
There we go. So, all right. I'm going to put a little link here in the live chat here in just a second, because one of the things that I had for Christy, but we didn't have time to get into it tonight, was there is not only the $36 trillion that the Medicare is going to cost, but conservative sources. I think it's the American Action Forum. They analyzed the Green New Deal, and they said that it's going to cost $93 trillion over 10 years.
That was the Koch brothers.
That was the Koch brothers? Yeah, of course.
It was their institute that did that research, and they got the information back and were like, don't share it.
Yeah. So... that's a thing. And also they said like $94 trillion because they can't stay consistent with anything. But so I'm gonna link one news article that kind of rebuts that a little bit and kind of gives you a little bit of a breakdown and tells you why it's a little bit bullshit what they're talking about. So here is that link. Excuse me. Again, we didn't really have time to get into that tonight. I was going to do more Twitter stuff, but we didn't have time for that. And also, one of the things I was going to laugh at on Twitter was Red Pill Religion. But looks like they're currently banned. Because, of course, they are. Let's see, what else? I have a small list of sources here for everyone, but we'll put those in the description box below, probably by morning. Got to get these Sinatra. Christy, is there anything else that you want to go over or have a little further discussion on? Does anyone have any questions in the live chat? At me, bro.
I do have the comment of the week.
Oh, cool. I pulled one up too. Yeah. What you got?
Let's see. Okay. Right here. The name of the person or channel is called The Stoned Philosopher. So The Stoned Philosopher. I was like, that's an amazing name. I wish I would have thought about it. That pisses me off because that's the coolest name. And they are not just getting to be comment of the week because of the name, but it did hold a little bit because it's just such a dope name.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they had a good question, didn't they?
They have, yes. Is it possible that a candidate take money from a corporation or corporations without being beholden to them? That's the first question. No. I'm not saying it's not possible. There are some amazing people out there that would never let it get to them. But I've never seen that. I've seen voting records, and I've seen people that donate to the candidates that I'm looking at their voting record, and they almost line up. You can see them never voting against huge donors. You can see them voting in favor of those huge donors or the donors industry. not passing fossil fuel regulations, carbon capture, anything like that, because their donors are so big. Cory Booker, he's a liberal. He is a Democrat. He's supposed to be for the people. He takes so much gosh darn money from the pharmaceutical industry, and he's never been for the people when it comes to pharmaceutical industry. So no. And I say we should stop that and implement free and fair elections, period. Every candidate gets whatever, 30,000, 50,000. It's the same no matter who you are. It's tax-paid money. You need a receipt for every single dollar you spend. The receipts have to go back into the government. Whatever isn't spent, you get to give to a charity. But that money that you get is what you get to make your campaign poster, everything. Any money that you want to use for your campaign is free and fair. It's free and fair, and it's the same. So there's not any attack ads. There's only facts coming at you. They don't have money to make attack ads. That would be smart. And the second question would be that they take money out of the system that would be used in one political cycle and not return any favors. So is it possible that a candidate take money from a corporation without being beholden to them? Can they take money out of the system that would be used in one political cycle and not return any favors? So I think what the Stone Philosopher is saying, they take a donation from ExxonMobil, and it goes right into whatever they were doing. They were busy that season. It went right into the campaign and helped everybody out. Well, yeah, I'm sure that happens all the time, but that's not. I mean, we have career politicians that are on their 32nd year, and there are some that have been there that long that I love. So I'm not saying that there should be a term. I would never want if a city wants to reelect the same person every year and it's a free and fair election, I'm down. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing that they've been in there that long, but it is a bad thing that they've become a billionaire as a civil servant. Yeah, no. So no, it's not possible. The Stone Philosopher, good question though. And I ranted at you, but your name is awesome. Come back.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Please come back.
But yeah, I think it is possible. I just don't think the current system really allows it.
Right.
So, like, yeah,
we have legal bribery is what we have right now.
Yeah, and as much as our politicians have to fundraise for their campaigns, like while they're in office, it's ridiculous. It's not going to happen. Like, the corporations have the most money, so they can donate the most money, and money is free speech. So when you donate so much money, then they're kind of bound to have to listen to you a little bit, because they have to listen to their constituents, and whoever kind of donates the most to them, it's like shareholding. Is that right?
Yes, the shareholders that when you take a financial breakdown of the multinational corporations, the national corporations, and the biggest corporations, those three, from this last tax change, when you take a breakdown of what the majority of that money went to, is shareholder buybacks. They're buying their own stock back, which I don't know if any of you guys know, that used to be illegal. It was illegal to do that because you're making your stocks worth more by buying your stocks. It's a fake. It's a bubble. You should have earned that by people buying shares into it. But I think President Clinton, a liberal, actually, he refused to call himself, because I'm researching the 90s right now for next week's story. Clinton refused to call himself a liberal because of Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh and the conservative right-wing radio scared him so much that he thought he would lose too many voters. So he said, not only did he not say the word, or not only did he not call himself a liberal, he refused to even use the word. He was a Democrat. He was a Democrat.
Democrat.
That's how he said it. I was a Democrat. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. I'm a Democrat.
I like how we can't mention Clinton without going
Right.
there.
Hey, I am of the mindset that as a president, that is a hard freaking job. And if you're doing right, you're doing what you're it is a hard job. I think get your freaking pee-pee get pee-pee kisses, as Miss Starkey says. Get all the pee-pee kisses you can. Get it. I don't care. Get all of them. Line them up. I don't care where you put your pee-pee. As long as during your 9 to 5 or whatever hours you're presidenting, and you're doing a damn fine job.
I can't.
I don't care.
Put your policies.
Right. I care where you put your policies, not your penis.
Yeah. So that said, thank you, the Stone Philosopher, for that. For those awesome questions. Thank you, everyone, for joining in tonight. We have 15 watching right now, and we tend to get at least 30 views on all of our videos. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in each week and keeping up with us. We really, really appreciate it. I do have what we're doing next week. To clear my throat.
Well, tell us.
Sorry. We have a special guest coming on next week. Amanda Cummings of Brief Brain Facts will be coming on. And she'll be coming on to talk some politics and maybe a little bit of science with us, which would be super duper fun. If you have not seen her channel yet, I'm sure I can pull it up. Should probably pull it up. Should have had that ready already. But it's called Brief Brain Facts, and it's amazing. So let me grab that link real quick.
It is good.
Christy.
It is super good, and he's going to mute himself because he has the loudest keys in the West. For real. Like, we had it tested, and he got told that they're the loudest. They win. I'm just kidding. Of course, none of that's true. However, Atheist Joke Boy, you're so young and you know so much. I'm always so proud of you. That is true, that it does help them make it through a very poor time. And I'm not saying that maybe even we should go back to making it completely illegal. But there should be regulations. And I'm of the thought, the regulations became a dirty word in this country. And regulations didn't used to even be called regulations. They were called protections. I'm going to put in some protections for you, some environmental protections, there are protections for the people, but it's harder for, I don't care if you're conservative or a far left, I don't care. It's easier for very wealthy corporations to say, we need to get rid of regulations that stop us from providing more jobs than it is for them to say, we need to get rid of the protections. Do you see that the wording is so important? And history is so important. You learn so much by learning about where all of these things came from. I call them protections all the time, because that's what they are. And we need more. We need more protections, not less. Every time we've had an administration come in and annihilate regulations, we get more kids dying from cancer. We get more pollution. It's documented every single time, and every single time they still manage to come in, and whoever's running be able to convince them to say these things. And I know a lot of people in my family and friends that they've heard regulations save jobs so many times they've never looked into it, but they know it to be true. They feel it in their heart, because regulations, obviously, it's red tape and bureaucracy. And if a corporation has to go through all these regulations, they're not going to hire people. Well, I guess if I was ignorant of all of it, I might think that, but it takes 5 minutes of looking it up. You'll change, because it's not true. Regulations protect the people. And if a corporation doesn't want to do an environmental study in order to place a pipe in, well, guess what? Then you can't put a pipe in. It's that simple. It's that simple. I'm done ranting.
Fair enough. Yeah. All right. So I think that is all we have for tonight. Is that right? Is that the show?
Right.
Is that all of it? Yeah.
Ba-da-ba. Yep. Ba-da-boom.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you all for joining in. This was a really fun show. I think all in all, Christy and I put about 10 hours of research into this one.
Yes, it was hard.
Yeah. And that's just like in the last day.
Yeah.
Like I just like rewatched a bunch of stuff that I like listened to the other day. I'm like, all right, I like that, I like that, I like that.
Yes.
I will have sources in the description box below. We need to get those to Nacha, and Kirsty, you need to get yours to him as well if you have any.
Yes.
And yeah, I think that's all for the week. So join us next week on Friday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll be here with Amanda. And then the week after that, I'm not quite sure what we're doing, but the week after that, even, I think it's the 29th, we'll have, I don't want to say his name wrong, Luciano. Yeah.
Yep. You can say Luciano or Luciano. He doesn't care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was worried. I'm like, which one is right? I feel like I've heard both.
Luciano Logic.
Luciano's
amazing.
Logic. He'll be on
and I love him.
And that will be right after, I think, a debate that I'm having on Modern Day Debates channel. So, got a lot going.
Do you know who you're debating yet?
Oh, I do. And it is, actually, I kind of forget his name. Let me pull it up real quick. I don't want to say it wrong. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready to hear who I'm debating? Apologist Supreme God. Yeah, the guy who's been making a lot of.
See my eye?
Stuff
it automatically just starts twitching.
Actually, I can't. I haven't been able to see you for like the last 45 minutes.
Okay.
So I didn't. But yeah,
I've been making faces at you, all kinds of stuff. You'll never know.
I won't even know. But all right. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. That is our show. Please join in next week and the week after that and the week after that, and keep doing that. Make it a habit. Please share this out if you would, because you're really, really you get extra cool points if you do that.
Yes.
And
stay stay humanist for God's sake.
Yes. All right. Good night, everyone.